Genevan philosopher Jean-Jacques Rousseau quoted, "Cities are the abyss of the human species," and this was said in the 18th century. His statement has stood the test of time. Big cities have razzle-dazzled people for centuries. Guns N' Roses aptly released a single about them called "Welcome to the Jungle," and today we'll find out why people are leaving that jungle. Welcome to Alux.com, the place where future billionaires come to get inspired. If you're not subscribed yet, you're missing out. Number 1. People escape city living for space. Big cities mean loads of people, cramped living spaces, paper-thin walls where you can hear your neighbor doing dodgy deals, odors that permeate every nook and cranny, and housemates that leave their hair in the shower and don't flush the toilet. It's time to pack those bags and leave the hustle and bustle of the city. Currently, the most populous city in the world is Tokyo, which has more than 38 million residents, but it can be a bit misleading in that Tokyo includes several smaller cities around it, making for a sprawling space of busy city life. Places like Yokohama, Saitama, Kawasaki, Chiba, and Sagamihara sit right on top of Tokyo, and as there's no space between the cities, those numbers are included too. New York City has 38,242 people per square kilometer, making it easy to understand why many people are fleeing for a little bit more room. Number 2. Property prices in big cities are exceptionally high. Big city living is expensive. Why? Simple: supply and demand. Think about how many people we mentioned earlier living per square kilometer in New York City. Each person needs a place to rest their head. With limited places available, prices skyrocket. Big cities don't have the luxury of expanding, so the places available to rent sort of remains constant, but the people needing to rent or buy keep rising. It's unsustainable. Other factors that bring the price of housing up in a big city include the services you receive. Things like trash collection, access to public transport, animal control. There are generally more employment opportunities, even for lower-skilled laborers. Closer proximity to good public schools also drives up prices, and the convenience of being close to all amenities. And up next, how something as simple as parking spaces can make people ditch city living. Number 3. No more ridiculous parking fees every single time you park your car. Aluxers, have you ever stopped to think about how much space is dedicated to parking lots in a city? According to Audible.com, there are 3 billion parking spaces in the United States alone. Even with options like Uber or Lyft available, a lot of space is used for the 273 million cars in the US. You'd think that parking wouldn't be an issue then, but in crowded cities, people are spending hundreds of dollars just to keep their car in a parking spot. American historian, sociologist, philosopher of technology, and literary critic Lewis Mumford said this time around 50 years ago, "The right to have access to every building in the city by private motorcar in an age where everyone possesses such a vehicle is the right to destroy the city." So now we pay for that privilege. Depending on where you park in New York City, you could be forking out anywhere from $20 through to $140 a day. A garage spot in Chicago is around $130 a month. London will charge you a congestion charge of around $20, and then if you were to park in Soho or Hyde Park, for example, the hourly rate would be $6.50. Can you just imagine, with all of those cars, how much air and noise pollution is in those big cities? Number 4. There's less pollution further away from the city. So it makes sense that the further away you are from those big cities, the less pollution you'll be exposed to. Many people are heading to the suburbs or countryside for health reasons. They want to be able to take a deep breath in and not inhale fumes, smog, and other people's BO. Founder of the World Watch Institute and environmental analyst Lester R. Brown gave this scary statistic. Children whose developing lungs are particularly vulnerable suffer the most from air pollution. For children, breathing the air in cities with the worst pollution, such as Beijing, Calcutta, Mexico City, Shanghai, and Tehran, is equivalent to smoking 2 packs of cigarettes a day. A big contributing factor to the air pollution is the copious amounts of traffic on the roads in big cities, and that brings us to the next reason why people like to leave. Number 5. Traffic congestion is a nightmare in big cities. There's a reason why places like London charge a congestion fee. That's because there are just too many cars on the road, and they're trying to deter motorists from driving their vehicles into central London and rather rely on public transport instead. The TomTom Traffic Index put Bengaluru in India as the most congested city in the world in 2019, with motorists dealing with 71% extra travel time stuck in traffic. The most congested city in Europe was Moscow, and in the US, Los Angeles, New York, San Francisco, San Jose, and Seattle make up the top 5. Number 6. It's less noisy the further you get away from the city. Now think of all those cars driving around in the city. Add in buses, trains, subways, and all other modes of transportation to the mix, and you can bet it's going to be very noisy. Noise pollution is everywhere. Health issues attached to excessive noise pollution include stress, high blood pressure, and weakened mental acuity. It's also been linked to heart attacks, strokes, and even dementia. Around 25% of Londoners are exposed to noise levels that exceed 55 decibels just from traffic, which, according to the WHO, is a noise level that can cause health problems for a community. Number 7. You don't need the big city to be successful. Gone are the days when, to make a success of our careers, we had to go to the big city. Hell, these days the most successful people are rocking slippers, pajamas, and sweatpants. Business on top, party on the bottom. It's easy to work remotely and you save transport costs, time, and have the added bonus of never having your lunch pinched from the staff refrigerator. And Aluxers, if you'd like to make the move but wonder if you'll cope working from home, check out our video, 15 Tips to Get Better at Working from Home. It'll definitely help make the transition a whole lot easier. Number 8. The further away from the city you are, the less crime you're often exposed to. Several reasons are behind this. Cities will generally have a higher crime rate because there are so many more people. Go to an area where the population is not as dense, and the crime rate will obviously reduce. Other factors are poverty, a lack of jobs and income, and anonymity. People flock to big cities to find employment and to become wealthy. That often doesn't pan out and they resort to crime. The world's most dangerous cities by murder rate are as follows per 100,000 inhabitants. 1. Los Cabos, Mexico, 111.3. 2. Caracas, Venezuela, 111.2. 3. Acapulco, Mexico, 107. 4. Natal, Brazil, 102.6. And 5. Tijuana, Mexico, 84.8. Former Mayor of District of Columbia, D.C., Marion Barry said, "If you take out the killings, Washington actually has a very low crime rate." Number 9. You can offer your growing family a better lifestyle. Hey Luxers, we don't dispute there are pros and cons to both, but moving away from the city can reap huge benefits for your family. Children are exposed to fresh air. They have space to run around and be children. They can play hide and seek in a forest. Your home can have many dogs and cats, and hey, even chickens if you're keen. In winter, you can go skate on the lake or build a snowman. The air is fresher, crime is lower, it costs less, you can grow your own food and raise your own protein. Children will grow up using their imaginations and have more freedom, and that's a gift to last a lifetime. Number 10. Big cities have lost their charm. Big cities go through stages. As Sabrina Tavernise and Sarah Mervosh mentioned in their New York Times post, cities were booming from the 1900s right through to the 2010s. But once it reached this point, growth slowed down significantly. The high costs and excessive stress levels started pushing people further away, and the big cities began to lose their allure. Jeremiah Moss wrote a book called Vanishing New York: How a Great City Lost Its Soul, in which he highlights the plight of New York, fighting for the charm it once held. He cites greed, hypergentrification, and government policies of having killed off the unique characteristics of many neighborhoods of New York City. And a quick question, Aluxers, have you ever wondered how many times you get bumped into if you're living in a big city? We'll tell you shortly. Number 11. People can do all of their shopping online, so there's no need to go to a mall. Hey Luxers, we already know that malls have been dying for years, and now with COVID it might just be the final nail in the coffin. The retail apocalypse saw 8,600 store closures in the USA in 2019, and those that were surviving had to spend millions to keep the people coming back. Yoga studios were introduced, microbreweries, medical centers, and spas, but those are all null and void now as most consumers avoid public areas. Online shopping has really upped their game, and you can buy literally everything via your smartphone, so there's no longer a need to head into the city to do your shopping. It gets delivered right to your door. Everything is just a click away, and Shopify and Amazon deliver anywhere around the globe. Number 12. There's much less stress and anxiety. Living in a bustling city is pretty stressful. Research suggests it takes 18 days before city dwellers reach their limit and need a break from city living. The survey was conducted by Wyndham Vacation Rentals, and they confirmed some crazy numbers. They mention you get bumped by strangers 15 times every 18 days in the city. Adding to that, you wait in 15 long lines. You miss a mode of transportation 13 times, and strangers rush to you 15 times. City dwellers claim to be very stressed, roughly 10 times a month, as opposed to suburban Americans, who cited feeling stressed 7 times a month. Blake Shelton loves country life. Mark Ruffalo moved to the country in upstate New York and lives there with his family. And Chris Hemsworth and his family are living in his homeland of Australia. So clearly some celebrities have caught on to this trend already. Number 13. You're closer to nature and can see the stars. Being closer to nature goes a long way in helping a person feel grounded. In fact, there's a concept you might have heard about called earthing or grounding, which encourages you to put your bare feet into the Earth's surface. Earthing is said to neutralize free radicals, to help with stress, sleep, and pain management. It boosts immunity and improves inflammation. When you're away from all the city lights, you can see the stars. You're close to forests, trees, plants, flowers, butterflies, and we can go on and on. But do know we strategically left out mosquitoes, spiders, and other such creatures because we don't want to spoil the beautiful fairy tale countryside image we just created. Number 14. You can support local businesses. Hey Luxers, when you're living far away from all the amenities you're used to in the city, you'll have to find them elsewhere. So instead of being able to go to Starbucks and grab your regular, you're going to have to find a coffee brewery in your area that you love just as much. You might find yourself exchanging the design of a plumbing website for some real deal plumbing in your new home. Instead of supporting a big chain, you're helping your neighbor send his little girl to dance lessons. You become part of building up families and communities, and it's a wonderful feeling that is not often felt in a big city. Number 15. You become part of a closer-knit community. Bob Dylan once said, "New York was a city where you could be frozen to death in the midst of a busy street and nobody would notice." Hey Luxers, we can assure you that would never happen in the burbs or out in the country, as when you settle there, you become part of the community. When you ask city folk how they are, the most common response is busy. People often come and go, and it can be challenging to forge long-lasting relationships. Those that chose to move away from the city are usually ready for a quieter, more settled life, and that's where you'll find those long-lasting friendships, the meaningful conversations under the stars, the sounds of branches swaying in the wind, and your happy, healthy heart beating away. Which brings us to the end of our list today, Aluxers. Where would you prefer to live if given the choice? Let us know in the comments. And as always, as a thanks for sticking around, Aluxers, today's bonus is a rather unexpected reason people are fleeing the big cities: COVID-19. Honestly, nobody would have expected a virus to create as much havoc as it has, and it's causing a major demographic shift. People are leaving the overcrowded cities in the hope of not catching COVID and heading to the suburbs and the countryside. The exodus may be temporary, but bustling city centers may never be the same again. To end in a cliche of note, fellow Aluxers, only time will tell. Thank you for spending some time with us, Aluxers. Make sure to like and subscribe so you never miss another video. We also handpicked these videos, which we recommend you watch next. You can talk to us on all social medias or ask a question on our website, Alux.com. Thank you for being an Aluxer, and we'll see you back tomorrow.